right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Fire Down Below 1997. This is going to be another Karate Man recommendation. I'm giving it 1 out of 5 stars. I hated this flick. I knew I was going to give it 1 out of 5. As soon as I figured out that it was a follow-up to On Deadly Ground, another environmentalist propaganda movie posing as an action movie. There's nothing action-oriented about Steven Seagal coming to save Mother Earth, as Karate Man aptly put it. But they're still calling it an action film on Wikipedia. That won't stop Wikipedia from calling it an action film. The only fight scenes are few and far between. And they last for like 30 seconds. Fire Down Below is a 1997 U.S. action film starring Steven Seagal and directed by Felix Enriquez Alcala in his directorial debut. I forgot to give Steven Seagal the producing credit. So Steven Seagal did On Deadly Ground a few years prior. And he said, I made this terrible movie. I can't possibly outdo the horrific quality of On Deadly Ground. And then he came out with this one, and sure enough, he outdid himself in terms of poor quality. Unbelievable. How could anybody defend this as entertainment? This movie is so retarded. It appeals to the lowest common denominator. This movie should be burned and thrown in the dustbin of history. Fire Down Below is... Oh, he said that. The film also includes cameos by country music performers Randy Travis, Mark Coley, Ed Bruce, Marty Stewart, and Travis Tritt, a country rocker and the band member Levon Helm, as well as Kristofferson in a supporting role. So the soundtrack is a bunch of really bad blues music. And then you got country western stars popping up all over the place. And some wrestling dude plays Pimple. Steven Seagal plays Jack Taggart, an EPA agent who investigates a Kentucky mine, and he helps locals stand up for their rights against the white male swine of a capitalist pig, a 60-year-old Kristofferson. The film was released in the U.S. on September 5th, 1997. And of course, Kristofferson would love this kind of movie. Because it aligns with his political beliefs. It's just like Heaven's Gate. But in Heaven's Gate, he played the good guy. In this one, he plays the bad guy. But he probably looked at the script and he said, oh, this is cool. white male swine of a capitalist pig. They never mention that the U.S. government is the world's greatest polluter. It's always some greedy capitalist dude smoking a cigar and with his feet up on his desk in a nice three-piece suit. Acquiring assets while exploiting the workers, that sort of thing. It's all a bunch of nonsense. Production company Seagal Naso Productions, distributed by Warner Brothers. Release date September 5th, 1997. Running time 104 minutes. Country United States. Language English. Budget of $60 million estimated, and a box office of $24.5 million. So this one was a hardcore flop, resulting in Steven Seagal going direct to video, which is a good thing, actually. In the peaceful Appalachian hills of eastern Kentucky, toxins are being dumped into abandoned mines, causing environmental havoc. The fish are acting weird, but the locals, mindful of their job and the power of the mine owners, can do nothing because they're a bunch of ignorant, barefoot hillbillies. EPA CID agent Jack Taggart is sent to investigate after a fellow agent revealed to be Jack's friend and partner, Frank Elkins, is found dead, probably not by accident. So you got some government corruption conspiracy theory going on, which would have been good in a normal movie, but this is not a normal movie, and neither is On Deadly Ground. The EPA has received an anonymous letter from Jackson, Kentucky, and Taggart goes undercover to continue his colleagues' investigations. Hanner Coal Company, owned by Orrin Hanner Sr., is found to be getting paid to dump toxic waste into abandoned coal mine shafts, so Jack is assigned to go to the small town of Jackson, where his cover is that of assistant and volunteer carpenter to a local church. He stays in a room in the church's basement, and he begins his cover work by repairing the roof of a house where one of the children is sick because of the pollution. He's got a red rash on his left arm. He attempts to question the family, but they have little to say because they're dumb, ignorant hicks from Kentucky. He fares the same elsewhere. Even the man who tipped off the EPA is decidedly tacticum. While testing the water, Taggart wanders into a marijuana field, and he is accosted by the growers. After disarming them, he tells them that he has no interest in arresting them. The men responsible for Agent Elkins' death soon notice Taggart's presence. As a newcomer to the small community, he is threatened by Hanner's son, Orrin Jr., played by Brad Hunt, the incompetent local tool of the company, corrupt Sheriff Lloyd Foley, and several thugs that work for them. The thugs in question start by leaving 2 rattlesnakes in his dwelling. Taggart responds by capturing the snakes alive and leaving them in the pickup that the thugs were driving, causing them to crash. Soon after, 5 of them attack him while he's buying supplies, and they received a severe beating as a result. Orrin then orders one of his truck drivers to arrange an accident by running him off the road, but Taggart escapes alive while the driver is killed after falling off an open pit mine cliff. While these conflicts occur, Taggart strikes up a relationship with Sarah Kellogg, a very comely looking young woman who doesn't get naked, by the way, and and she lives in the town. She's considered an outcast because of her father's murder, a crime of which she was accused but not convicted. Eventually, she agrees to testify against Orrin and his people, much to the anger of her estranged brother Earl, who committed the murder after their father found out about his sexual abuse against her. Got some we've got some brother sister incest, which in a normal movie, incest, which in a normal movie would have worked, but this movie is total crap. Working as one of Hanner's thugs, Earl sets the church on fire in the process of killing the preacher who was helping Taggart. He then attempts to collapse the mine with Taggart inside it. Taggart escapes while several mercenaries are killed, including Earl. And they're squirming around like fish in the green stuff. With evidence and a witness, Taggart calls the FBI to take Sarah into protective custody. However, they are revealed to be corrupt and a firefight ensues. Taggart kills one agent, then sends the second back to Orrin with the message that he will be coming for him next. However, when Orrin is arrested and charged, he gets off with a slap on the wrist for the environmental violations, a $50,000 fine on $3 million in profit. Taggart goes back into the town. Taggart fights his way past the last of Orrin Jr.'s thugs, including Pimple, the big-time wrestler. Then Taggart demands the truth from him. Orrin agrees to turn the state's evidence implicating his father on racketeering, conspiracy, and murder charges. Taggart goes to a casino to arrest Orrin Sr. Upon hearing about the reception awaiting for him in federal prison, Orrin produces a gun. Orrin resists, but Taggart shoots him in the shoulder, and he is taken into custody. Off screen, I guess, because Steven Seagal just walks away. The film was... I would encourage you to watch the Space Ice review of this that I posted in the description. It's a little bit out of context and weird, but for the most part, it's on the spot. The film was shot on location in and around Kentucky. Parts of the truck chase scene were shot on Natural Bridge State Resort Park. Some of the opening scenes were filmed at Cumberland Falls State Resort Park. The cave scenes were filmed in the Great Sepulchre's Cave. This was the third and final time that Kane Hodder worked with Seagal as a stuntman. Seagal liked the film in part because it was kind of an environmental movie. He's doing an environmentalist sermon inside an apostate, heretical, schismatic church. He also enjoyed working with Helgenberger. While I don't think she was a physical, spectacular, drop-dead, gorgeous woman, she was. What is he talking about? At the same time, she's a spectacular actress, said Seagal. Her performance was wonderful. No, it wasn't. She didn't take her clothes off. Fire Down Below was released on September 5th, 1997. It grossed $6 million on its opening weekend in the US and Canada, and it went on to gross $16.2 million plus $8.3 million internationally for a worldwide total of a piddly $24.5 million. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of a very low 14% based on 28 reviews, with an average rating of 3.5 out of 10. On Metacritic, the film has a score of 40 out of 100 based on reviews from 13 critics. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of a B- on an A+ to F scale. The film was nominated for four Razzie Awards. Worst Picture, Julius R. Nasso lost to The Postman. Worst Actor, Steven Seagal lost to Kevin Costner for The Postman. Worst Screen Couple, Seagal and his guitar lost to Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dennis Rodman for Double Team. Worst Original Song, Fire Down Below, lost to the entire song score of The Postman. Seagal also was nominated for Worst Actor at the Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, but he lost it to Tom Arnold for McHale's Navy. And nobody in the chat room this weekend. Karate Man interested in me trashing the latter, the 94 to 97 Seagal movies. Adrian's only interested in the weird stuff. I don't know what happened to Jeff Jaffe. Who else? Oh well. All right. I'll try to get another review in Monday. We'll see how it goes. Fire Down Below. Here we go. $19.97, rated R. 1 hour, 45 minutes. Gets a mediocre 5.1 out of 10. 20,000 ratings. A federal agent uncovers lucrative toxic waste dumps in Appalachia, and the agent must deal with the locals who want to keep their gold mine secret. Here's a flattering review from Nazi fighter David. More like this, the Glimmer Man on deadly ground, hard to kill and out for justice. The box office flop of this movie caused Steven Seagal's multi-picture contract with Warner Brothers Pictures to end. However, he would work with them one last time for Exit Wounds, 2001, and that movie proved to be a box office success. Do I have Exit Wounds on here? I do, at 927. Of course it would be Karate Man. Recommendation. Because it's another lamestream box office success. Near the end of the movie, Jack throws a flare towards one of the fake U.S. Marshals who catches it just inches before it lands in the puddle of gasoline. Liquid gasoline is itself not flammable, but gasoline vapor is. Holding a flame inches away from such a large puddle of gasoline would ignite the vapors. Jack Taggart is quoted as saying, "I think, Junior, if your daddy knew how stupid you were, he'd trade you in for a pet monkey." This was featured in Siskel and Ebert, She's So Lovely, Hoodlum, Excess Baggage, Paperback Romance, M and Les Samurai, 1997. Soundtrack Storehouse, written by Steven Seagal, Alex Harvey, and Levon Helm, produced by Steven Seagal and Alex Harvey, performed by Alex Harvey, courtesy of Clearwater Beach Records. Release date September 5th, 1997 in the U.S. Country of origin, United States. There's an official website on Warner Brothers. Language English, also known as Lura Thieu. Filming locations Hazard, Kentucky, USA. Production companies Warner Brothers, Seagal Nasso Productions. Runtime 1 hour 45 minutes. It's in color, sound mix, Dolby Digital DTS, SDDS, aspect ratio 1.85 to 1. I paid $2.99. Karate Man owes me $2.99 for this piece of poop movie. Why? How can anybody enjoy this stuff? You have to be a real Steven Seagal completist. All right. Here's the Nazi fighter David. Review dated April 10th, 2004. Now, Nazi fighter David's title of the review is Seagal is simply an authority figure with a heart of purest gold. Steven Seagal is one of those actors with a totally winning personality. He's mumbling his lines the whole time. He is simply an authority figure, a killing machine with a heart of purest gold. I can't help it. I like the guy. Yeah. Karate Man can't help it either. He's in love with the ponytail. In Fire Down Below, he is an outsider posing as a church-sponsored carpenter while he works for the Environmental Protection Agency. To stop a greedy coal baron from dumping extremely large quantities of toxic waste in abandoned coal mines. Those dangerous chemicals could destroy the drinking water for thousands of miles and kill a bunch of people around the hills. Seagal gallantly promised not to leave the small town until the poison from the air, the streams, and the earth is taken out. Many thugs with snakes, sticks, guns, and big trucks are hired by the uncaring mining magnate to get rid of our action hero, but Seagal remains virtually untouched. Fire Down Below highlights new environmental message, but fails to come up with the expectations first. Seagal's amorous interest with the sad country woman seems artificial, used in the film to grant the new visitor easy access to statements he might need. Second, the motion picture lacks the best villain, whose prowess could equal Seagal's. Steven's character never really faces much of a challenge. In fact, the fight scenes are too short and extremely fast and easy. That was one of my criticisms as well. if you're a fan of country music and you want to see Seagal playing guitar and singing, and you like to explore sweeping vistas with glorious sunsets, don't miss this movie. Okay. There might be some decent cinematography in this of the Appalachian Mountains. So for different reasons, this could have been a better movie. I could say the same for On Deadly Ground. This is definitely worse than On Deadly Ground. Seagal outdid himself here. If they had just gotten rid of the environmentalist message, come up with a different storyline, I think these movies would have been better. Like I said, you're better off watching the Space Ice review because it's got some funny little tidbits, such as granny shifting, and at one point in the movie, I think the idiot guitar playing preacher dude who runs the church, he says, my church can't be useful if they're dead. I thought, and that struck me as odd, but it's not surprising coming from a Protestant church. Because in Catholic Church, the whole point of going to church is receiving communion with God and getting good graces, and hopefully achieving salvation in the next world, not this world. But the whole purpose of going to Protestant church, apparently, according to this guy, is to socialize and to get to know your neighbor, I guess. Anyways, that was kind of interesting. Kind of startled me when he said that. Does he even realize that he sounds so stupid uttering that? I mean, I said, isn't that the whole point of going to church? Anyways. I still have The Glimmer Man and the other movie that I mentioned. What's the other one that Karate Man likes? Exit Wounds. 927 on my list. Glimmer Man. 299 on my list. The Foreigner, 4,183 on my list. And last but not least, you've got Attack Force. $3,516 on my list. So I'm not done yet. I've got a handful of Steven Seagal movies to review. If I'm still alive by then. All right, so I'm going to check out Footprints of God with Stephen Ray really quick before I take my little nappy poo. Wake up and update my movies list with Emmett Walsh movies. And then I've got number 17, 1932, which I'll probably get to on Monday. The Trial Better, 1951. And The Man Who Knew Too Much, 1934. Of course, I'll in between each of these three movies, I'm going to watch episodes of Footprints of God with Stephen Ray. So hopefully I'll get halfway through it next week. And then I can move on to just watching movies and going down my list quicker. Laters.